Hello everyone and welcome to Shauna Stitches, episode number 31. Today is March the 11th, 2018, and I'm filming from my home here on the North Oregon coast, or as some like to call it, the Pacific Northwest. It is a gorgeous day outside today, which it kind of looks like I'm not wearing clothes, but I assure you I'm wearing a dress, which I know, shocker, right? I'm also wearing my For the Love of Rainbow shawl, which is a little difficult to see, but I guess I'll get right into it, huh? There you go. Anyway, I'm just wearing it as kind of a wrap today in case I get cold. I always forget to tell you this, so where you can find me is pretty much Shauna Stitches everywhere. That's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Ravelry group, like I said, pretty much anywhere. If you're going to find me, it's going to be Shauna Stitches. Yeah, so let's see. It's been a while since I recorded, and that's mostly because I really just didn't have a lot to show you guys. But I think I will go ahead and start with a finished object, because I do have one. These are my espresso macchiato socks, and I can't recall now, I think it was March or August of 2016 I started these socks, and finally just finished them like a week ago. These are one of my old whips. In fact, it was my oldest whip, and they're finally finished. As you can see, these are very patterned. I can't remember how many rows there were per each repeat, but it was quite a few, and I had to follow the pattern like stitch by stitch. It was tedious and long. It certainly wasn't hard. There are a couple little cabled stitches here. I'm not sure if you can actually see them. But yeah, I used a 2.25 millimeter needle, which is my standard 64 stitches, and the yarn is Cascade Heritage Wave, but I'm not recalling the color name. Anyhow, it's a gradually changing color, so that's why the socks look two different colors, but I thought it was perfect for caramel macchiato sock, right? Kind of looks like caramel, kind of looks like espresso. Perfect. I'm glad that they're done. I would not choose to knit something quite that patterned, maybe ever, but certainly not in the near future. It just is very time consuming. And actually I say that, but it felt like it flew by when I actually did it. But there was a reason why they lingered so long. And had I not had one sock completely finished, I probably wouldn't have done the second. When I picked him up to work on him again, I had 1.5. So I was just past the heel and only had to finish the leg. So it really wasn't too bad, but again, it's a lot of paying attention, which sometimes is hard for me. Drinking black coffee out of a Christmas mug today. I don't know why. It's beautiful outside, but you know, whatever. It holds the coffee. So that is my only finished object. If you watched the podcast, I think it was the last episode that I did, you saw another old whip that I was working on, which were some 2 at a time Patton's Croix rainbowy stripe kind of socks. These are the progress on those. They've been completely frogged, and that's because I got them probably an inch or two up the leg, tried them on, and literally thought I was going to rip the fabric trying to get them on. They were just way too tight. I was not enjoying the 2 at a time. So those will become 1 at a time socks at some point, which I know I will love. So it's good to figure out how things work best for you, I think. And I hate frogging things, but I think I'm finally getting to a point where if it's just not going to work out, I'd rather frog it and start over than have something that I'm never going to wear and I'm not going to be happy with. So that is the status of those. I did pick up another very old whip. I know this one is from August of 2016. And for those of you who don't know, I started knitting in 2016, in February actually. So I was still a very new knitter at that time. So this is the whip. It literally was just the cuff, so it stopped right there at that purple, and I knew I had the Ravelry page, and I hadn't forgotten anyways, that I wanted these to be Hermione's Everyday Socks. There you can see the pattern, super easy to follow. Again, 2.25s, 9-inch circulars, my absolute favorite. These are the best for knitting socks, at least for me. I prefer the Chiagus, which have the red cord, just because I find them, the cord A is a little sturdier, so it kind of helps hold it all together, and you can actually kind of hold on to the cord as if it were the needle a little bit. Plus, these seem to have just slightly longer tips, which really make it super easy for me. The Hermione's Everyday Sock pattern is a free pattern on Ravelry. It's a 4-row repeat, super easy, and I'm loving it. But for some reason, although the first pair of socks I ever knit for Glenn were Hermione's, I have never knit myself a pair. The yarn, which you can see here in the cake, is a Ice Yarns Super Sock. I forgot. It's Super Sock. I don't know the colorway name, but they don't have cool colorway names. So this would be something like fuchsia, orange, yellow, something. I mean, they just list the colors, and it's pretty easy to figure out when you're on there which one is which. That's how it stripes up. I picked this because, well, for the Hermione specifically, because I felt like the reds, burgundy, whatever you want to call it, and the gold was very much Gryffindor colors, which if you're a Harry Potter nerd, you know that Hermione is Gryffindor. Hopefully I have that right. I could totally screw it up. I've read all the books. I haven't watched all the movies, but it's been a while. All right. I didn't tell you, 64 stitches, 2.25 millimeter. My standard leg, I do 20 rows of 2x2 rib, and then between 80 and 90 rows for the leg. I know I did 90 some. I can't remember if it was exactly 90 or just over. And I did a garter stitch, Mina's German short row heel, that's it. And I did do, if I can show you here, I did do the mini heel flap adjustment that she has available in her patterns to make it a little bit deeper, because I have a very high arch but skinny feet. All right, let's see. I'm kind of all over the place today because those were works in progress, and I guess the next ones I'll show you are just scrappy, so they're kind of works in progress, kind of I finished something on them. Anyway, I have a pinwheel square, and that's the pinwheel scrap blanket by Mina Phillip, in all of the colors from my Find Your Fade sweater. Or is it Find Your Fade? No, So Faded sweater. I get them all confused. So Faded. So I had 4 colors in there. I actually repeated them so that I have this special square that's going to go on my blanket that looks just like my sweater. I did them in the same order as my sweater. So, and I actually wore that yesterday for the second time. I didn't bring the sweater out here, but I will tell you, my favorite yarn is, of course, the one that is, I won't say it's pilling yet, but it's slightly fuzzing. And that is the Ocean Mist by Yarn Cafe Creations. It's by far the softest yarn, and definitely the one that is starting to show some wear. So that kind of stinks, but I'm going to wear the sweater anyway. So it is what it is. All right, the next one you haven't seen since my, I guess I did do some squares after Advent, but it's been a while. So again, I put those 4 colors into my Cozy Memories blanket. Let's see. There you go. It's starting to get pretty big now. In fact, I can't get it all in the shot, but hopefully you can get the idea for that. It's still nowhere near a blanket. If anyone's curious, I do have a Ravelry page for how I do mine, and I use a 2.75 millimeter needle for this, which is a US 2. Sorry guys, someone keeps texting me and I'm just making sure it's not an emergency, which it isn't. All right, and I actually have some crochet to show you. If you haven't noticed the theme yet, there you go. This was what was left of everything from my sweater except for the Hue Loco tweed color, and that's because there was quite a lot of that left, and I didn't want a humongous block of it in my blanket. But this one here, hopefully you can see that because I can't see you. Let's see, fold it up here again. It's maybe a 1.5 feet, 2 feet long so far. Long way to go. I just kind of put my scraps in it as I go. But I'm absolutely loving it. I want both blankets for my bed. Is that weird? Like I'm just going to be super warm, which is fine by me because I'm usually freezing. All right. I really just kind of have, I guess other than the Hermione sock, I really am just working on one thing. That one thing I started last Sunday. And here it is. This is my Zwag. I don't know how to say that. Hopefully that's right. Zwag sweater. Which, yeah, this has been difficult. Not really knitting the sweater itself. I finally was able to try it on yesterday and it fits, but it's doing something kind of funky up here at the shoulders. I think once it's blocked out, it'll be okay. It was just kind of like sitting up, making it look like I have huge traps. And I had to pull it down to kind of get it to set right. I will insert a photo of what it looks like on with that pulled down so it's smooth. I may insert a photo so you can see what I'm talking about too, how it's like sitting up. But honestly, the sweater was maybe this long. And I think, you know, having some weight on it, having it blocked, eventually having sleeves on it will help a lot. The yarn that I'm using for this is Knit Picks Chroma Twist in the Lakefront color. And also Quince & Co. Turn. Oops. There you go. In the Back Bay color. And that looks like this. This is Back Bay. And it is the lace yoke portion here, which I would say on screen looks darker. Everything looks darker on the screen than it actually is. If you're familiar with Chroma Twist at all, it's kind of like a crazy Zabber ball where the colors change and it's not like a self-striping, it's just kind of crazy, hence crazy Zabber ball. But this is Chroma Twist. So this is the exact same color, Lakefront. You can see how it changes there in the middle. And because it is so crazy and unpredictable, I am alternating every other row. So you can see at some points it blends in really well, and at other points it kind of looks stripey. And the overall effect, I think, when you see it from a distance, I feel like the really stripey portion here is more enhanced on the screen. But in person, I don't think it looks too bad. And it works for me. So it may not be everyone's first choice. In fact, I for certain will have a very one-of-a-kind sweater, which is fine by me. I don't tend to follow all the trends. The one thing that I will say that I didn't really think about in using this yarn for sweaters is that there's no way that the sleeves are gonna look right, I guess, is one way to put it. Like it's not gonna be without a break. You're going to see an obvious change where I pick up stitches, and there's no way for me to really keep that from happening. I could attempt to try and find a spot in another skein where it's similar, but to find two spots, I just don't think it's going to happen. I'm kind of bummed about it, but kind of not, because I think, honestly, it'll look fine. Like I said, I am alternating skeins every other row. There's what I don't know what you call that. It's kind of a seam, but it's kind of not. It's just how I'm carrying up my yarns. There is the other portion there. I can't really seem to figure out how to do that without making it a bit tighter than everything else. Because if I don't pull it somewhat tight, it makes the stitch like really loose and weird looking. So I think in the actual sweater, it's not, well, it's obvious when I do it like that. But anyway, once it's blocked out, I think it'll be okay. It's somewhat noticeable, but it is on the back of the sweater. So I won't have to look at it. Someone else might have to, but oh well. What else do I want to say about this? Oh, here's what I will tell you about this sweater. I set out to be a good girl. I set out to swatch for this sweater. And other people who have knit more than 2 sweaters ever maybe have figured this out better than I have. But I follow the pattern, and the pattern tells you to do what says so many stitches over so many rows of the body pattern, which is this slightly cabled part here, was supposed to equal a certain amount. So I know generally doing a swatch in the round is the way to go when you're knitting in the round, but that seems like a lot of yarn to use when I'm already maybe slightly concerned that I might run out of yarn. And it's a lot of work too, which, I mean, I guess it's worth it, right? You're gonna have a sweater that fits, but when I want to cast on a sweater, the last thing I want to do is spend days on a swatch. It's just, it is what it is. So anyway, I started out swatching, not in the round, just a flat swatch. And I got to where the cables start, and I was like, ew, this is not going to work because of the cables. At least I couldn't figure it out. Again, this is what I mean by my issue with the pattern, is that it is not specific how to do the swatch. It doesn't tell you to cast on a certain amount. It doesn't tell you to cast on in the round. Maybe you're just supposed to know these things. I don't know. But it didn't work for me. So I ripped it out, and I just went with the needles that are listed in the pattern and hope for the best. Which is why when I tried it on yesterday, I was relieved that it fits. Now, it doesn't have the boxy kind of oversized fit that everyone else seems to have. It's slightly fitted, but I think once I do block it out, it will be a little bit baggier. But it fits, so that's the main thing. And I know this lace is gonna block out a bit. Yeah, so here's the dramatic story of my sweater. Again, I said I started this last Sunday, so I've been working on it for a week exclusively. I haven't worked on anything else. And I'm finding out I really am a monogamous knitter. Like, that is what I prefer, start to finish. I say that this week. It could change next week. But I really think that's the trend that I'm going in, is to work on one thing. Especially now that I'm finding myself with less free time. I just feel like I actually make progress when it's the only thing I work on. So I had a hiccup yesterday where it would have been so easy to just put this aside and not work on it forever. I was knitting on this at the dining room table because for a time here, I was working with 4 balls of yarn. So I was alternating down here, I was alternating the 2 greens, and then I was alternating also the 2 blues because I was running out. In fact, I'll show you. This is what I had left of 150-gram ball, this is about 2 grams, and then I had to work in this one. And they look the same, but I'm always worried that, you know, it's not going to look exactly. So anyway, 4 balls of yarn. So I was sitting at the kitchen table, excuse me, because that just seemed easiest to be able to put all the balls of yarn up there. And when I was using one color to do a round, I would pull out like several armfuls and let it dangle to the floor and knit it up, because that way I could pretty much know how much to pull out without having to stop in the middle of a row and pull out more. And then we decided we were going to go to dinner. So I, of course, put my sweater on the table. As I'm walking out the front door, I decided to start the Roomba, which, for those of you who don't know, is a like robot vacuum, which I like to run when I'm not home. And we went to dinner and had a good time and came back a couple hours later. And I walk into the dining room and see Cody back up. And I see my sweater in a heap on the floor, stuck underneath one of the chairs, wrapped in the Roomba. It's not a dance, it's a vacuum. I promise. Anyway, it's wrapped in the Roomba. And yeah, I didn't lose it. Glenn definitely knew there was something wrong, because I don't remember exactly what I said, but I was like, oh my God, something like that. And I proceeded to pick it up and found the yarn just completely tangled, not only in the brush, but there's this other brush that spins. And so everything was wrapped in there. And I will insert the photo here of what my sweater looked like, because some of the stitches came off the needle. I'd say, I didn't count them, but roughly 30 or 40 stitches came off the needle. And of course, the stitches had ran. And thank God I have tried lots of things in my short knitting career, because after getting it untangled from the Roomba, which, by the way, the Roomba is strong enough, it actually broke the yarn. And this yarn, which is what broke, is 30% nylon. So 70% wool, 30% nylon, it still broke it, which is nuts. So I got it all wound back onto the cakes and went and got one of my sock needles and picked up all the stitches, very much like I would pick up for an afterthought heel. So I remember that being a daunting task when I learned afterthought heels, and had I not ever tried that, I don't think I could have saved the sweater. I actually probably would have had to frog the entire thing, which would have been, yeah, I probably would not have started it again. I don't know. So in all, I lost 9 rounds and got those re-knit up last night. And I'm currently working on the 4th pattern repeat of the body. It's really hard to show you exactly how long this is. Last I measured, it was about 4.5 inches. I've done a couple rows since then, so it's probably about 6 inches from the armpit. I'd say that's about right. The pattern tells me to knit the body to 13.5 inches for my size. I will probably knit it slightly longer because I'm very tall. I'm about 5'10", if you didn't know. And yeah, I can't think of anything else to tell you about this pattern other than I am keeping this in my really smelly 2 dogs bag. It's my Halloween bag that I won from Nordic Stitches, who I did find out who this was made by. It was made by Karen. I'm not going to pretend to pronounce her last name, but she's been watching my podcast for quite some time, and she contacted me and told me that she had donated it to Lily's podcast for the giveaway. She doesn't have a shop, or I would link that down below. And yeah, I love it for this project. I just fold it over and I'm able to access both cakes of yarn in there. Oh, one thing I will tell you, I was browsing the projects on Ravelry for this sweater and found a really awesome tutorial for how to do the cables without a cable needle, which is awesome, because I'm telling you, when I heard other people talking about this sweater and cabling without a cable needle, I was like, no way, I can't do it. And I'm so thankful that I gave it a shot, because this pattern, if you had to use a cable needle for each of these cables, which are literally just 2-stitch cables, it would take forever. Like, I would probably still be on the first repeat. So anyway, the tutorial I will link down below. I have to look up the page. It's on a blog called Knit Sophie Designs. And she obviously knit the sweater. I think her name is Jamie. But anyway, she knit the sweater and did a little tutorial how to do both the cable to front and cable to back cables, which is so helpful. I had watched a lot of tutorials about how to do them with like pinching the stitches and holding onto them and picking those up, and that terrifies me. I don't know that this would be good for cables more than 2 stitches, but for 2 stitches it's perfect. And hopefully this will boost up my my ego. That's not quite the right word. My skill level to where I'm not afraid to maybe try that in the future, because I've been very reliant on cable needles in the past for doing cables. So it's so nice, so easy. I will say doing the cables the way that she teaches in her video was giving me some of the same like wrist pain. I have pretty bad tendonitis in this tendon that runs right down here. And I woke up with a sore wrist yesterday, but I powered through. I kept going. It's not hurting today, so I'm not really sure what that was about, but I'm just happy it doesn't hurt anymore. All right, so we made it to acquisitions, and I actually have some to show today because Knit Picks is having a huge sale. So I have 2 more skeins of the lakefront color, which, you know, you can see they're very different. Same colors that I'm using on my Zweig sweater. Seriously. They're on sale. They're 100 grams each, and they are closing these out. They're never gonna make this again, which is really sad because I like it. And I will say it knits up really soft and nice, and I haven't even washed it yet, so I'm excited about that. $6.99 for a 100 gram skein, and I got 4. So not counting the Quince & Co. color, which was already in my stash, the entire sweater is going to cost me less than $30 to knit, which is pretty amazing for those of you who are on a budget. Like I was talking about earlier, it may not be some people's cup of tea with the color variations, but I think it makes it look pretty cool, and I'm really excited to see what it's going to look like ultimately, you know, when I'm completely finished. I could not find an example of a sweater knit up like that. I saw some people would just knit through one, start another one, and it creates really random stripes, which I didn't love, but I think I'm liking the way I'm doing it a lot better, for me anyways. So that being said, I bought some other colors of the exact same thing, and I may even buy some more. So I have this color, 4 of these. This is Red Velvet, which I think is so pretty. It's, although they call it Red Velvet, it's a lot more pinky with some purple tones, and it's got some gray. And this may become a boxy. I haven't decided yet. I want to knit the boxy and pavement sweaters, but I haven't decided what yarn is going to be what sweater. And I also haven't ultimately decided that those are for sure going to be the sweaters. So this is probably my least favorite color that I got. This one is called Vermont. And it's orange and teal and purple. So I will say, when you go to the Knit Picks website, I think why this yarn just wasn't good for them is that there's not a good example. You know, they don't show a skein like this. They show it kind of knit up, and it looks a little funky. And yeah, I don't think that they advertised it well. There you see again. So I'm interested to see how this knits up. I'm tempted to do the boxy in the Red Velvet and this one be the pavement, but like I said, I haven't decided yet. And then I do have a 4th color, which is called Dear Diary. And that's pinks and grays. You know, the way that this is done, it looks a lot like a hand spun. And I don't spin, so I guess it's my way of kind of using something that looks hand spun. So if you guys have any recommendations for fingering weight sweater that will take, let's see, these are, I think, 437 yards, or yeah, 437 yards per 100 grams, so approximately 1,700 yards or less, let me know, because I have been looking all over Ravelry trying to decide, and it's hard. Like the Zwag sweater, I just had to knit. Like, you know, you get that feeling like, oh my goodness. And I don't know why. I've never knit a yoked sweater before. It's all very, very new to me, but I don't know. I just loved it. All right, so in addition to that, I did get some of their closeout cotton colors. This is a red, white, and blue called Liberty. And I've never used their cotton before, so I'm really interested to see if this is a lot different than the sugar and cream that you can get from Joann's. So, and this is their Dishy. I didn't tell you that. This one is called Jewelry Box. Another one called Beachcomber. So these were all colors that they are discontinuing, and they were quite inexpensive, so I thought, why not? But I haven't knit up any more dishcloths. This one's called Cabin. So yeah, that is all of my acquisitions. I'm super excited about the chroma for sweaters, and like I said, I probably will get some more because, I don't know, $30 for a sweater, it seems so good, right? Maybe I'm crazy. What do I know? What else do I want to say? I feel like there was something I was going to tell you guys in the sort of general conversation, but at this very moment, I'm not thinking of much. Tuesday, I'm going to take Rudy to get his 2-month checkup, and I'm really hoping that they're going to say that his leg is fine, he doesn't need surgery again, but I'm not super confident about that. He's still limping on it, holding it up a lot, and holding it at a funky angle, and I'm just not sure if that might be what it's going to be from here on out, because I don't know how many times I can keep putting him through surgery and hoping that it gets better, but it's not getting better. So I don't know, we'll see what the vet has to say. Obviously I want what's best for him. Yeah, I don't know, I feel like there's not been a lot going on other than work. Work's been, again, super busy. I think after I get done editing this and getting it over onto my computer and whatnot, that I'm going to go mow the lawn. Doesn't that sound like fun? But yeah, I'm going to get outside and try and enjoy the sunshine while it's here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you, both new viewers and those who keep coming back episode after episode. It means so much to me. If you want to be notified whenever I post a video, which is not always on a regular basis, you can click subscribe. And if you like this video, go ahead and like it. And if you could not dislike it if you don't like it, that'd be great. Anyway, on that note, I hope you guys are having a wonderful start to spring. Although I don't think it's technically spring yet. I think it's still winter, but hopefully it's warming up for some of you because I know you've been buried under snow. Until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.